Maybe. Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the Ted Show. You never know if we're live or not. That's why I really pay attention to that light. We are live today with my old friend. He's not old, but we've been friends for a long time. He's a business professional. He's in the gaming world. We'll talk about that. The topic today is what's the pinnacle of social impact? I love the title of this show, so I can't wait to take a deep dive with my dear friend Rupert Meghnot is on the show. Welcome, Rupert. How you doing?
Great. How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. Loving the jacket as always.
Thank you.
You can pull off that.
I'm just trying to follow your lead.
Nah, you always look good. I love that jacket. I love how you're pulling off the white hair. I'm starting to get this on my on the sides here, so it's coming, my friend. It's coming.
If you can't, all right. Join them. Yep.
You look great. You look amazing. So let's talk about you. Let's keep taking a deep dive before we went live. I told you the audience loves origin stories. So tell them a little bit about you.
Okay. I grew up in Detroit. I'm an immigrant and, started in the inner city and worked my way out. And then came down to Orlando in '86 to get my M.B.A. at Rollins. Worked full-time, went to school full-time, got into tech. And my second year there, worked as a consultant for Martin Marietta, and then just fell in love with tech and have been in it ever since. And started my first business. I had already bought. I already started and sold before I came down here.
Wow!
And then I came when I came here. Then I started more businesses. I've had like 15 businesses since I've been down here, and. I had a few failures, had several exits, nothing the Wall Street Journal would be writing about, but I was happy. And I've been an educator. I taught for 6 years at both UCF's Rollins College. That was an undergrad course on entertainment technology. And then I taught at Full Sail for their game design master's degree program and I taught project management to aspiring producers and developers there. And, I've been working with startups ever since, like, I think 92 is when I started Virtual Entrepreneur. And I've consulted with and mentored thousands of them since then. I have a Meal with a Mentor program where, I donate like an hour and a half of my time to somebody if they get me out of the office and buy me a meal. And I've had over 350 of those.
Wow.
And so recently, and as an entrepreneur, I consider myself a hardcore entrepreneur. Okay. It's basically
why hardcore?
When I start a business, I'm willing to risk everything in my life for that business, except for my relationship with who. All right.
I get it.
And so I guess that's why I'm single.
That's a good one. I'm glad you said that out loud. You saved yourself.
Yeah, I have no life. I mean, all I do is work, and then I hang out with my buds, and we smoke cigars and have a good time. So in any case, I've been involved in and out of the game industry for quite a few years. My first dive was at Martin back in the late '80s, doing VR for them and helping get.
What people will say? We did VR back in the late '80s.
Yeah, and still not impressed, but that's a whole nother.
We have to do a whole show on that.
Yeah, that's another discussion. And then so.
Why? Let me ask you. You said a whole bunch of stuff, so I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
Tell me about startups, because that's been a buzzword more so in the last 5 years or so. Like, it just seems to be startups. Why startups? Why are startups a big deal to you? Because it's part of your MO. I mean, when I think of startups, when I think of somebody who helps startups, you're one of the first people I think of. So, but why startups? They can be risky. They can be a lot of work. People can have a great idea, but no idea how to implement. Why are startups part of your daily thing that you like to kind of look at?
Because they drive all business in the world, right? Google was a startup.
Yeah.
Yahoo was a startup. Amazon, Tesla, SpaceX, Apple, they all were startups, right? And so what drives me is that I hate to see startups fail. Okay. And they fail for a number of reasons. First of all, they don't know how to make a business out of their idea, right? And they focus on making a product that they want to make or a service that they want to make, but there's no market for it.
Right.
Okay. And this includes, by the way, 42% of companies that get venture funding that fail.
To me, that's the part.
There's no market for it.
It's
right?
so fascinating because I think, and I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
I think somebody says they think startup and they go, I've got an idea. Now I need to go get money. And they don't think through the process. There's no business planning, which you and I have done shows on. There is no taking a look at if the market demands it. And if you create it, are you creating a demand for it? I mean, there's all of the things that you were just talking about. I think people think, well, I've got a great idea and I've got a whole bunch of friends, so why not do a startup?
Well, there's a lot of reasons why. First of all, in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to have 4 primary personality characteristics that are at the top 5%, right? In order to be really successful. I'm not saying that if you don't have those characteristics, you cannot be successful. It'll just be a lot harder. Okay. And so those are creativity, which everybody has, but it has to be really in an abundance. You don't limit it to just the code you're writing or the design you're creating or the website or whatnot. It's in the contracts you're writing. It's in the negotiations you do. It's in the, it's in the pitches you give. It's everything, right? Then you've got initiative because nobody's going to do it for you. When you start a business on your own, the buck stops here. Okay. Yes. And so you're the one that has to get up every morning and just do it. Just get to it. Then the other big thing too is risk tolerance. All right. Starting a business, as you mentioned earlier, is a highly risky business endeavor. Right. And, it's like, what are you willing to tolerate? Are you willing to tolerate, risking your 401k? Are you willing to tolerate quitting your job? Are you willing to tolerate no social life or, having and this is just a start, right? Yeah. Because but if you're not willing to do these things, right, it's just really going to make your chances of not being successful that much greater. And, there's always exceptions to the rule. I'm just saying that generally speaking, you've got to be willing to risk a lot.
And I think people need to, my experience with anybody who's done a startup is they don't evaluate that and they don't plan for enough time for it to work. And so I've had people who quit a job and don't even have the money yet to fund their project, or they quit a job that has benefits and they haven't thought about what are they going to do now that they don't have health insurance. There's so much that goes into the decision. We want people to be successful. I know you do because you mentor people all the time, but it has to be smart. It has to be, at least you've got to know all the facts and you've got to understand the risks before you take that leap.
Well, the thing is too, is that, so you've got that risk tolerance that you have to have, because the vast majority of people who start businesses don't have sufficient risk tolerance. Even the people that go to incubators and accelerators, you know what their success rate is? You have any idea?
I have no idea. Tell me.
5%. Yeah, 5%. Y Combinator, 500 startups, 2 of the best accelerators, incubators in the world. They're at 7%. So what happens to the other 93%, right? 93, 95%. What happens is, first of all, they're paying entrepreneurs to be entrepreneurs, which just totally defeats the purpose, right? Totally defeats the purpose. Then what they do is they're not teaching aspiring entrepreneurs how to think like entrepreneurs. And not only that, how to think like project managers And I'm not talking about everybody and their grandmother who calls themselves a project manager. Anybody who puts their clothes on in the morning is a project manager, technically speaking, right? What I'm saying is really understanding project management at a fundamental level, and I'm talking the basis, the basic project management from the project management book of knowledge, right? The traditional stuff, because all Scrum, Agile, Lean, Six Sigma, all that stuff stems from there. Okay. And what people do is they focus on those other things without knowing the basics, and then they wonder why they keep failing all the time.
Yes.
And so you've got initiative, creativity, risk tolerance, and the fourth one is resilience, right? The resilience comes in when the money does run out. Right. And you're like, okay, now I got to get more, right? And if you've got a startup, and this goes to answer your question previously, if you've got a startup and you need money, number one, who's going to give you money if you haven't put any money in yourself?
Yes.
Right? If you don't have skin in the game, it's going to make it that much harder for you to get money from anybody else, because that's the first thing they're going to ask.
That's right.
Okay? Now, once you've put and risked a sufficient amount of money and capital into it, then you go to your friends and family. We call it love money, because they know you the best.
Love money. I love that.
They know you the best. They're the ones who are more apt to support you and to help you out and things like that. And then they're more apt to, here, I'll give you this for a little bit, or a loan, or whatever it is. And you can get that. And that can be anywhere from $10,000, $5,000, $10,000. It could be hundreds of thousands, whatever it is. And then what you do with that money will get, other people who are interested in venture and funding you where you want to go. Yes. So let me talk about the pinnacle of social impact.
I was just going to ask you, so take it away, Rupert. I love it when you take over the show. It's my favorite. Right. I really do.
So typically people associate social impact with, efforts that are on the sustainability side, environmental, ecological, humanitarian, and things like that, which is wonderful. And there's an unlimited supply of opportunities for people to get involved in these types of social impact types of activities. However, the vast majority of them are nonprofit, right? And so the people that typically donate to these, they're not, I guess we call it an investment, but it's a donation. And the people that donate do it, they want to get a tax break and so forth, but it makes them feel good that they're doing it. But what people don't understand, and they're totally ignoring, is what's the fundamental thing that influences whether or not these MPOs are getting money. And that is, do they have the means to do it? Right. Yes. And what other limitations do they have? Okay. So if we can influence something positively, that adds far more people into the potential customers and donors, right, of any NPO, then don't you think that would have a more far-reaching impact on all nonprofit organizations that are social impact based, right? So what we do is we say, looking at startups and looking at social impact, and then we say, look, the biggest thing that can influence the biggest thing to influence social impact is democratizing wealth in a society. Okay.
Well, explain that for people.
Okay. So typically, in venture capital and in gaming and a lot of other things, investors go after these hits. Okay. They're after the home run. Okay. The problem with that is that their chance of getting a real home run is about 3%.
Yeah.
Okay.
Low.
So they're literally throwing their money away on purpose. And I'm sorry, I don't invest that way. Okay. I'm not interested in investing that way. And so what I say is, look, if we can utilize good project management and entrepreneurship, put those two things together, and I've been writing a book for years here, but yeah. So in any case, put those two things together and then build an organization that creates many wealthy people, like all the stakeholders. For example, in the game industry, if 80% of the developers in the game industry are independent or indie, but the thing is in the game industry, 3% of publishers get 94% of the revenues, and 85% of the games they make are sequels. But we know from, you've heard of Minecraft and Candy Crush and Angry Birds and PUBG and all these other games. They were created by indies. Original content created by indies. So we know that the 3 billion gamers in the world love and crave original content. So what I'm saying is that these indie developers who also have a 5% success rate, right? Can you imagine what this world would be if they, in all startups, had a 10% success rate?
Can you imagine? Wow.
Or a 20%, right? Or a 50%? Can you imagine? I mean, startups and small businesses already account for 13 times the patents and intellectual property as the big corporations do. So, right? Yes. So what we say is, what we do at BGV, Burnout Game Ventures, is we create economic development through game development. For example, a typical indie company, if they get the interest of a publisher, the publisher will buy their intellectual property. So they'll pay them $50,000, $100,000, $500,000, whatever, right? And then now the publisher owns their creative freedom and their intellectual property, and they get 10% of the profits. All right. What we say is, look, creating the game is half the battle, not 10% of it, right? Or 5% or 2% or 0% of it, right? But doing the other half, which is the business and the marketing and the finance and accounting and all that other stuff, is the other half. All right. But we throw in there, we teach them how to fish. Our goal is to kick their butts out the door when they're a sustainable business with their own marketing department, their own business development, finance, accounting, CPAs, attorneys, a whole shot. And then what we do is we give them 50% of the revenues. So if they create another PUBG, every single person in that company is now a multimillionaire.
Yes.
From the secretary to the developer to the artists to the designers to the investors, every single one of them, right? And so now if we create 30 companies, right, in the next 5 years, that's 500 to 1,000 people who are making an average of 100 grand a year or more, and not including the profits or the home runs. And now they're paying their taxes.
That's right.
They're shopping at, Whole Foods and Publix, and they're sending their kids to Trinity Prep and Highland and other school and public schools and so forth. And they're donating to any nonprofit that they want to without limitation.
Correct.
Right. So it's basically economic development is the pinnacle of social impact because it is the tide that raises all ships.
See, you close things out so well. I love that quote, by the way. All right. So we had a lot of questions, but what I want them to do, I'm going to send them to you. You can take a look at them later.
Sure.
Do a follow up. I want people to find out the best way to reach you, because we have a lot of people asking about startups, and people asking, do you only do game startups? I know that answer is not accurate because you've done a whole bunch of stuff before. Yeah. What's the best way for them to reach out to you and learn more and even participate? We had a question, participate in your mentor lunch.
So we're all over the place. Go to our, if you have a game and you want us to take a look at it, just go to our website, read up about us, and go to our apply page and apply to have your game published. I have to be honest right now, we're at full capacity and we're raising capital in order to, get more capacity.
Yeah.
So, our goal right now is to raise 750,000. And so we're looking. I've been talking to investors. I mean, last April, my team said, "Rupert GTFO, we got this. Just go find money." And I'm like, "Oh man," I'm like, "Oh." And I've been looking, and it's been difficult because change is difficult, and people don't like change. And what we're offering is something that's truly going to transform the industry, and so much so that if you see this right above my shoulder here,
yes,
right there. That is an innovation award that we got 2 weeks ago at Synapse for right there. Yeah. And so we were at Synapse, which is the biggest entrepreneurial conference in the state. We won the Entertainment Innovator of the Year award.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
So, and it's because of what I just discussed, right? It's because our business model's new, our finance model, everything is new. So go to our website and apply there. We'll get your information. It goes into a queue. To be honest, we have 150 other companies in that queue.
Sure you do.
If you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, you can reach out to me. We're on Facebook. We're in everywhere.
You're
Pinterest,
everywhere. We've got you tagged.
YouTube's a great place. I have a number of my pitches there. You can see the games that we put out there and everything like that. So, yeah, definitely. And then
the website is scrolling across the bottom, but we've tagged Rupert and everything. You guys can just find him anywhere. LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Reach out. Even though he's got 150 companies deep he's working with, you never know what the next amazing idea is. And Rupert loves.
You never know. It's like Mark Cuban says, who's next?
Right? That's right. Who's next? All right. Right. Your joy always to have on my friend Rupert Meghnot.
Thank you.
To that website, reach out to him. Let's get you guys going. Even if it's the first step, it's still a step.